Hey there, I'm Giddy.
And I'm Monica.
And this is Hitting Her Mark,
Podcast for women in the arts, actors, filmmakers, artists who are passionately chasing their creative dreams,
while juggling the beautiful chaos of caring for the ones you love.
We're here to share stories, insights, and inspiration, proving that you can hit your mark without compromising what matters most.
So if you're ready to make your creative dreams a reality, let's dive in.
JJ Neepin is an Indigenous director and writer and a Fox Lake Cree Nation member. JJ founded JJ Neepin Films, Inc. and has screened many of her works at festivals worldwide. She began directing for several documentary series, including APTN's Taken and Meechif County. In 2022, JJ moved from documentary to scripted television and directed an episode of CTV's Hudson and Rex Season 5. In spring 2024, she directed an episode of CTV's Acting Good Season 3. One of her main goals is to make her first feature, Luminous, and to eventually create and be a showrunner for her own television series.
Justina Neepin is a Cree producer, writer, and filmmaker based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, a graduate of the University of Manitoba with a BA in English and Film Studies. After winning the inaugural RBC Emerging Filmmaker Pitch Competition at the 2012 International Gimli Film Festival, she founded a production company with her sister JJ Neepin called JJ Neepin Films. The pair have produced several short films that have played at numerous national and international film festivals, currently in early development of their first feature film in partnership with Buffalo Gal Pictures. Talented storyteller, Justina is a writer for Zoot Pictures' 3D animated series Chums, a children's program featured in 4 languages, Cree, Ojibwe, French, and English on APTN. Justina is a member of the DGC BIPOC Committee, chair of the DGC Manitoba BIPOC Diversity and Equity Committee, and a contributing member of the Winnipeg Indigenous Filmmakers Collective.
Justina and JJ, thank you so much for joining us here today on Hitting Her Mark. We would love to start with how it all began for you, and how you ended up where you are now.
Well, both my sister and I'm the older one. I started doing film first, but it actually probably started way before that. Her and I used to make like music videos and little short films with our stuffed animals, and we'd film every vacation, everything like almost documentary style. And we didn't realize that's what we were doing, was making movies before learning about movies. I went to University of Winnipeg, went into film, and shortly after, my sister followed. And did film. I won't speak for you, team, but and then my sister actually entered the inaugural Gimli Film Festival, International Film Festival's pitch competition, and we won, or she won, and that was our first like money that's not ours to make. And that's kind of how it started.
Someone gave us money to make something.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like I was originally going to school. I had these big plans. I was going to be a doctor, go into sciences, do all these things. I really like it when people talk about like the Scully effect, Scully from the X-Files, and that this generation of women just went into STEM. And I'm definitely one of them. Like I definitely aspired to go into the sciences and be a doctor because of Scully. But aspirations being what they are, I just always had this love for film. So halfway through university, I switched over to the arts, and I went to the University of Manitoba. I have a major in English, minor in film, Bachelor of Arts degree. And then from there, after I graduated, I went through the National Screen Institute, and I did their New Voices program, which was a really great program to get like really hands-on, like experience and actually talk to like industry professionals and everything. And from there, we just kind of been doing our thing. One of our very first endeavors was to enter that pitch competition, and we won. So we got $10,000 to make a short film.
Amazing. So I just want to go back a little bit. How were your parents about you becoming a doctor and switching to the art?
They definitely had to get used to the idea. There was a period of time when they kept asking me like, so when do you go back and finish your science degree? I'm like, Don't hold your breath.
All right. So then you got your funding for the first time. Like, what did you do first? Were you like, how did you invest the funds?
I think we were very much wanting to make sure that we did it almost by the book-ish. We wanted to make sure that we could hire a proper crew, hire union actors if we could, ACTRA, and we were doing our best to, just do it right.
Do it professionally.
Yeah. And strangely, turn of events. In the beginning, my sister was the director for the short film since it was her story and her script. And I was the producer since I was like a level or two smarter, older.
Experience.
This is where the sisterly love kicks in. I like it.
In film. More experienced in film, so that I was the producer to kind of help get all that stuff organized. And I remember it snowed on our first day of filming.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like we picked out this lovely thing. It was very fall and it was just going to be like, oh, it's going to be gorgeous.
And like even the costumes reflected that. Like they were like nice fall jackets type.
So this was like your first
Planned out.
your hiccup. Like this is the first like challenging moment while you're in your first production. So you're already learning.
Pretty much. And
Evolving.
what was funny is it actually added this nice, it made the film look really pretty by accident.
Yeah, it definitely added a certain layer of beauty and mystique to it as well.
Like it worked out because it's a theme about a spy who goes in, an assassin goes and kills our character. And the movie ends with her about to meet and possibly assassinate another one. It's called Mark because she finds her mark.
Yes.
Yes. And here we are hitting her.
Hitting her mark.
Hitting her mark.
Shameless plug.
All comes full circle.
And did JJ, Justina, did you both write that as well? Like you co-wrote it as well, or?
My sister Justina wrote it. And then I adapted it for, I believe you wrote it as a short story first, and then I adapted it into a.
She had the film experience, right?
Yeah. I know how to do that.
She was the producer. Yes, she had yes.
So that's great. It was mostly her story. I only tweaked it, like dialogue here and there or something, just to fit film format a little better. That's pretty much all I did.
Do you typically work together time? Like have you worked with other producers and writers? Like I'm curious to know what the dynamic is. Do you see the dynamic, like the differences between when you work together versus when you're working with other people?
Oh gosh. Yeah, very much so. I think the nice thing I would say working with family, your sister, is it's a little bit like, well, because we've known each other so long, it's not quite finish each other's sentences kind of thing, but it's more like I could be, because now I do director stuff and she does producer stuff now. So it's more like I can be obscure with like, I want it to be like this and la la la. And she'll nod and go, so like this. And I'll be like, yeah, that's it. And vice versa. She'll tell me things and I'll be like, oh, so you mean more like la la la. And
It definitely requires a little bit of mind reading sometimes.
Yeah, I find that's the biggest thing is we can do that.
I feel like that's a huge advantage. Like you can just there's already like a language between the two of you. You can like get each other and you can be honest with each other maybe in a way that you wouldn't be with other people.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
That's very true.
the gossip we tell each other. And I find that's the biggest difference is just me and my sister already have that trust and that closeness, whereas working with other people, that process is a little slower and a little bit murkier to sift through. Like as much as everyone in film's great, everyone's creative, everyone's got a different process, and certainly everyone's got trust issues, their own issues. So I find that's probably the only main thing. It's just I'm a little slower to open up to my collaborators, though I still very much love to collaborate. So.
Plus, like one of the things I always hear, like, "Oh, you work with your sister. You two must fight all the time," or like trying not to fight all the time. Well, I'm sorry you have that kind of relationship with your siblings, but I mean, sure, maybe my sister and I, we don't get along all the time, but we know each other. We play to each other's strengths. Like that's why I focus on producing. She focuses on directing, and then we support one another, you know?
It sounds like the perfect partnership, actually. So how important would you say in general it is to find the right crew, find the right team when you're building a new project? How important is that assembling the right people to, create together?
And Carrie, yeah.
Oh, we certainly have had our hits and misses with that. Oh, geez. Well, that's where like I feel like all your hard work and previous networking and just meeting people really becomes handy. Because, they're always telling you as a young filmmaker, you got to go out and meet people, you got to network and la, 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 la. And I'm very introverted. So it's like, I don't like people. But like, again, it's just a little slow to get the feel for how other people are creatively. How do they communicate? And then trying to see if we mesh well. Definitely hit or miss. Our first film, Mark, there's like maybe only one or two people that probably we could have picked someone else, but the rest are all awesome because we were all kind of in the same age range as well. We're all learning and we're all looking for that experience to do better on our next thing. And like a lot of those people actually are still in the film industry. I actually worked with our camera guy who was our DOP on Mark. I worked with him on Acting Good. He was focus puller. So I thought, like, full circle there. So
Yes, all of these moments. Well, JJ, you're more of an introvert. Justina, are you more of an extrovert or?
But I'm definitely, what is it called? Like almost like a extroverted introvert, like
ambivert,
kind of like that
Hybrid?
Like hybrid. Yeah. Like I'm definitely more of an introvert, but like I feel like because I have aspirations and goals to like be a producer and I am a producer, that you kind of just have to put yourself out there and meet people, to talk to people. And also like when you're like practicing pitching and everything, like making these business deals, like you just got to do it.
It can be a skill. My husband is also an extroverted introvert, which I didn't realize until later, whereas I'm an extrovert. Yeah, we had to work some things out later.
Well, they say there's always the extrovert that adopts an introvert.
Yes.
Yeah.
So JJ, Justina, tell me about what happens next. You get this first film off the ground. What does that lead you to from there?
We went into documentary, actually. The next program we went into, again with NSI, National Screen Institute, at the time it was called the Aboriginal Documentary Program. I believe now it's called Indigenous.
Indigidocs.
Thank you, Indigidocs. Where they give you, what was it, 16,000 or something?
I think it was 16,000 plus like, like services in kind as well, like mentorships and like different resources and things you can access.
And basically it's how to make a documentary program, which we did one about the Aboriginal curling club here in Winnipeg, because we were already part of that community. We loved curling. So we figured, win-win. And we had the access, so that was great. And that actually started us down the road, or at least probably more me, but my sister too has dabbled into documentary, because after we were done that program and we screened our doc, we also got scouted and picked up by Eagle Vision's Taken, about missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls doc series. They said they saw our doc and they just loved how we went about it. So they interviewed us, and I became a director for several episodes, and my sister became a writer for several episodes. And yeah, through that, I also got more work in directing for documentary television. And yeah, for the longest time, that's where I was in documentary.
And then shortly after that, too, we were working on our next short documentary, which I would say was one of our like fully like self-actualized, like sought out funding ourselves, like not through a program. We made a short documentary called Bayline, which is about where our parents are from. Which the Bayline is what they called it, is the train or where the train goes between like Gillam and Churchill, and men who used to work on the railroad or like do maintenance for the railroad. There would be like settlements and towns along the railroad, and that's where our parents lived.
Well, that's amazing. And one documentary I'm interested in discussing as well was Headdress. When did that come into play? That was 2017. It made it into the docs. Is that much later in the timeline? Am I jumping ahead too much, or
no? That was the third installment, right?
Definitely next.
Yeah, that was literally next. Yeah.
Also, that was one of our quickest projects too, because CBC Docs had done they did a call out to Indigenous filmmakers to like pitch projects to a short.
It was their first time doing it too.
Program. So like we pitched it. It was something like September, October.
We pitched it.
And then we got funding, and then that January we filmed it.
Yeah. And then in April it premiered.
It premiered at Hot Dogs.
Wow.
That's the quickest turnaround I've ever done on a project.
It was kind of just kind of a weird special circumstance because like we made it. It was originally just supposed to premiere online with all their other documentaries for this program. And apparently CBC execs loved it so much. They were like, it's like, can we put it in Hot Docs? And we're like, okay, sure. It's like
talking to the programming team at Hot Dogs. Like they were like,
well,
we love it.
yeah, CBC was also like a sponsor for Hot Docs. So they were like, we'd like to put in this very late submission. Here you go. Yeah. And yeah, it had its world premiere at Hot Docs. So this was like,
honestly, seeing it on the big screen, like I couldn't see. I was crying too.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, my face is so big.
It's so beautiful.
I can imagine. It's like a full circle moment. It's like all the hard work paying off and culminating in that moment. Could you want to talk a little bit about the premise of it? I read a little bit about it, and there was apparently it was sort of not inspired, but there was a magazine cover of Pharrell Williams, and he was wearing a headdress, correct? And that was that sort of the prompted the storyline of.
I'd say that was like one.
Yes. Yeah.
A few things popping up at the time. I actually recall being in my kitchen talking to my sister about it. And it was just one of a few things that popped up where I was like, I would love to talk about, how important the headdress is. Didn't quite have a premise yet how we wanted to do it. Because the original idea was to talk to female chiefs about wearing headdresses and whatnot. But on the day, unfortunately, none of our interviews manifested the way we had hoped. So it was just us, our crew, and a headdress. So it kind of became this thing of, okay, well, me and my photographer, Nadia Kwanda-Benz, will talk about it. And it ended up becoming this really personal thing.
Recreated our great-grandfather's photograph of him wearing a headdress.
Because he was also a chief. As I say in the film, my dad was also a chief. So it was kind of like this full circle. I know it's not the same thing, but like being a director is a leadership role in films. For me, it was like this weird full circle and just really examining what that meant.
I love that. That's beautiful. And bringing your culture to the screen and then having your family involved in the making of the project, but not only also on the screen, right? Like it's beautiful.
Yeah. I just want to add, like, okay, I will teach not every year, but almost every year I teach I like a crash course intro to documentary for the new generation of NSI, new voices, Digidocs folks. And I say, you may be tempted to do a documentary personal about your family, la la la. And I always just warn, are you sure you want to do that? Because I feel like it's easier said than done. And then basically once it's out there forever. So I always just tell people, like, think about it a little bit more. Are you sure?
So it's good advice, but so further to that note, has there been anything that you've put out that you've now looked back and are like, I wish I didn't do that?
I think the only thing I wish we didn't do, and we actually didn't do it, there was another doc that came up, an idea, and I think I'm going to speak for both of us a little bit. I feel like we went in a little too naive, too many assumptions, and as a result, offended a lot of people just by our presence with a camera. Turns out a lot of poor communication. People didn't know we were going to be there.
It's a very sensitive subject.
Very sensitive subject, and we ended up not going forward with that. And it was a really, really rough lesson. Just don't make assumptions, cover all your bases, talk to people yourself, get shit done yourself, and just make sure things are done properly and respectfully. I think that was a really hard lesson. I'm really glad we didn't move forward with that, because also in retrospect, I feel like it was too heavy of material, and I personally don't feel like I was mature enough yet to cover that.
At the wrong time in our careers.
Yeah.
Also, that was like, even just from like a professional and like negotiation standpoint, in working with the funder that we were talking to about this project, there was a lot of back and forth of like, okay, well, our subject has changed a little bit. This is what we're thinking of focusing on. But then they were like, well, how about we go back to this a little bit? Maybe you can incorporate this. And like, no, we can't do that. But then also they were like, well, the funding is for this sort of thing. Like I'm being very, very vague on purpose.
On purpose.
But mostly just, it was also a chance to like actually like learn, like when a project doesn't work well. And then also like when you're talking to certain funders, like you kind of start to get to know who you actually want to be working with and who you want to be making projects for and who you want to be associated with.
Yeah.
It was
Do you think this is a project you'd want to go back to maybe later?
JJ's like, no.
I would consider it, but from a different angle entirely. It was something that, again, like we were just not ready for. It was also involving a family member and things going on in their life. But honestly, at the time, it wasn't ready. Maybe in 5 years or something, we could look at it again, but it might be just best leave it in the past.
Well, that's what I mean when I say like, to young filmmakers, like, are you sure you want to do something super personal, like in whatever capacity or what that might look like? Just because you can't see into the future and you're not sure what repercussions might happen for that. They could be good, could be negative. But that's true with almost any documentary. But when it's really attached to you like that, I don't know. I might reconsider doing it, but I don't know. I feel like the material's I feel like I'd trigger myself over and over again if we went back to it. But yeah, like going back to what my sister said, the funders kept asking us to make the story fit in a certain box. It's like, doesn't quite fit. How about this box or that box? And we were like, it doesn't fit in any of those. We're sorry. And then that felt like too much pressure to try and do that. Like it stopped becoming about what we actually wanted to tell a story about. And then it was like, okay, you know what? I know this is probably stupid, but let's walk away from it.
I don't think that's stupid at all. I think that's standing in integrity. It's called integrity. And like, knowing when it's the right time to walk away because it's not aligned with your values, right? So how do you, now that you have a production company, JJ Neepin Films, Inc., speaking about integrity and values and the stories you want to be telling, how do you decide, how do you guys know which direction you want to go with your storytelling? And do you guys have ongoing conversations about that? Or does an idea come and you just start writing and like, let's roll with this? Or how do you move forward?
I feel like one of the things that manifested from that experience was that let's step away from doc. Let's go back to fiction. Let's start telling our own stories. And so, of course, JJ she's been writing like a madman for the last like 5-10 years. We've got like feature scripts that she's written that have just kind of been sitting on the shelf. And so we've been kind of focusing on one or two for the last few years.
What does it take to get a project off the ground from inception to on the screen? It must be a process.
Except for that one doc that was like...
Except for that address at the hot docs was like, bing, bong, boom. Like, that's great.
God, I wish every project was as fast as Headdress.
I know, right?
Jeez. Well, we've been working on a feature called Luminous, which is about a young Indigenous woman named Aura who has the gift to see and find missing people. And when her childhood friend, who's more like a sister, goes missing, it's a race against the clock to save her from a serial killer who's actually been the person behind a bunch of missing and murdered in the area. That originally started off as a short film script that I actually entered into a contest. It didn't get picked. And then I think we submitted it to a workshop just for, one of those creative workshops where you bring in scripts and it's just something to chat about and like, oh, what do you think of this story? What should this person do? La, la, la. And then I believe we got encouragement, like, you should turn this into a feature. And so it was like, okay, I'll take a crack at that. I didn't get very far. I only got like halfway through that script before I got stuck. And then I applied a few times to Women in the Director's Chair program, and I entered with that. And that's probably the first time I got like really strong development and just encouragement, got actors to read the lines, and just like strangely, the actors who read the scenes that I picked for that program, those scenes don't exist anymore. So like that's how much it's changed. And that was back in 2019. Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was a while ago. Like it's changed so much since then. It also went through another program. Yeah, it's just been taking a longer time than I thought it would. But I am grateful. I'm one of those people who's just very impatient. And I was like, why can't I make this by now? Why won't people give me money?
Well, COVID kind of pushed things back a bit.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
God, yeah.
Let's not forget about COVID.
Yeah, right.
How that affected things, especially in our industry.
Yeah. But it's also, again, one of those things in retrospect where I feel like I was still missing some life experience to inject into that script, which I have now. And I find the script is so much, if I can toot my own horn, is so much more richer now. It's more, feels more real. Like, despite the supernatural element of being able to see and find missing people, I find like my characters are a little bit more real now. And it's just, I really want to make it and tell a story. Like, it's half inspired by our time working on Taken, which is, hearing those stories, not knowing the outcome. And I was like, I want to know the outcome. I want to control the world and make a semi-happy ending or something. So,
And so this was a Monica question, but I feel like it's really fitting right now. What are the different challenges? What were the differences between going from documentary back to scripted work?
honestly, I didn't really feel a transition. It just happened. It was natural. If anything, I always felt like documentary was forced for me. I always felt like I always had to work extra hard to do that, even though that came naturally. I'm very oblivious. According to my therapist, I have a denying
You're
problem.
just super talented and things are just coming easy for you. I mean, that's more like it.
I found it was just very natural for the both of us. It's just we're natural storytellers. We've always done it. And it really isn't until like someone like probably throws something at me that I kind of go, oh, I guess that is a thing, isn't it? I guess, yeah, that's right. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did.
Curious though, like there is some differences there in terms of like directing actors versus, showing up on, in a documentary format. But also, I'm curious about, I know some of the shows that you did, like Hudson and Rex, Acting Good, Lockdown. So some of those series, they're already sort of established series, and then you come in as a guest director, I guess, for an episode here and there. What is that experience like? Like, it's someone else's ship. You're just kind of, you're there for the day, and these characters are established, and you got to work with the actors who maybe, they know their character, but you're steering the ship for the day. What's that experience like?
The best way to put it, I guess, was like I was both nervous, but what I was nervous about was like, about communicating properly. Like, I know I have ideas. I know I'm confident in what we can do. Yeah, like I also didn't want to overstep. But what I was actually worried about was, just communicating, making sure that I could, like, I swear on the first day, I was like, I forget how to talk film. What's that light called? What's that lens? Fuck, I can't remember it. How to talk film anymore. I read a book on how to talk to actors and I forgot everything. Like, if anything, that's mostly what I was worried about. But then on the day, it was once I got over the first nerves, once that first setup was going, once that first take was done, it was like, okay, here we go. And I found that I thrived actually in that environment. I really liked directing for established TV because it really felt like plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
Just go in and whatnot. Because even while directing documentary television, a lot of those shows I did, they were also already established. They already had a format. And I was kind of coming in going like, because I also have a different style and asking questions, how I talk to interviewees and doc. So I just told myself, okay, well, just talk to them. Just talk to the actors. I would say, let's do the scene. Run it the way you think, you interpret it. We do it. And that's when I would go in if they needed tweaks. And usually they were very small things. I'd be like, I saw the character being more concerned or more scared or something. Like I would throw little words at them and be like on this line, to me, I thought they were going to do this. What do you think? I always made sure to keep it like a creative discussion.
Yes.
And I'd be like, can you give me something like that? And that's what I did with almost all the actors. Because, I was like, just talk. They're people.
Right. They're people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one person told me they're like, you're so gentle talking. And I was like, well, I also learned a trick from, what is it? I was watching one of those actor interview things with a famous actor. And they were saying how if you go quiet, really gentle, kind of soft spoken, everybody kind of calms down so they can hear you. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if that works. And sure enough, everybody's like, yeah, we could do it. We could do the scene like that. Yeah, we can.
They say that when you're talking to kids too. Like instead of yelling at them, you're supposed to like bring it down. I don't know if that works for my kids, but
Like gentle parenting, but on set.
right.
Yeah.
For your exactly. You're applying. Yes.
We're taking parenting tips now. I'm like, okay, so that I'm going to try tonight when I tell my kids to clean their room, I'm going to be like, clean
Go in nice.
your room.
I think what your motivation is you need to be going to bed early as.
Right. I want you to be concerned about the tidiness of your room.
Don't forget the dishes.
Yeah, I won't say what actor, but I remember, I think I offended him because I said, I don't know, it's looking a little stiff. And he goes, I don't know. And I was like, I'm going to ignore that reaction and be like, yeah, no, I mean, like, I feel like your character's being just too serious. Like maybe you can fuck with him a little bit and just be like, yeah. Like, and then he was like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm not calling.
Yeah. When a director swears, you're just like, oh yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
We're cool and
Pretty much, like,
around me. We're good.
like, I was like so worried. To this day, I'm still like, did I fucking offend him? So if I ever meet that actor again, I'm going to ask him, but we'll see.
You said about
10 years ago.
But I love what you said about how, like, after you get those first few takes and everything, it's like, then you're like, deep breath and then off to the races. Because I feel like it's the same for actors. Like, once you get that first sort of scene out of the way, you're like, okay, I can ease into this more now. Like, you kind of established yourself.
Yeah, like you kind of go through the motions after that. It's like you know how to do it. You sometimes I think, especially women, and you get that whole imposter syndrome thing. You forget that you know how to do the job. You know how to do it. Like if you were to take everything away for a minute and explain what you're doing to like a newcomer, you'd literally just waterfall all this information to them, and then it is until you take a step back you realize, hey, I know what I'm doing.
I was producing for a friend's feature film. Like again, because of COVID, his schedule had got pushed so much that he finally had to like make his film because it was like a telefilm, talent to watch, and he had to make sure that the money was spent by like a certain date. And so I think I was originally attached to his project as like a production manager or a production coordinator. But he really needed just someone like, and his actual producer was busy co-directing another project simultaneously. So he really just needed a producer on the ground to make sure things get done. And so he asked me to come onto the project. And again, like just say, like what JJ was saying, like here I am freaking out that I'm actually going to be a producer on a feature film. It's okay. You know how to do this. You've done it before. You just tell people what to do and then they'll get it done. Just trust they'll get it done.
Yeah. That's like my favorite thing about each other and going back to us working together is like, fine, when one's panicking, the other one will naturally bring it down, help you come back to earth and be like, well, it's like, settle down. What do you think of la la la? Like, you know how to do 1, 2, 3, right? Well, and we do that for each other, I find.
Nice.
Like when I I first directed something, I could have sworn I asked my sister, like, what have you seen directors do? What's that thing? What's the like, what's the weirdest thing? Like, what's a thing you wouldn't like? I just want to make sure. Because she's worked in like so many production offices. She's worked in so many production offices. She's met so many directors and producers that I was like, dude, it's like don't worry. You're one of the good ones.
So nice. That's great to be able to do that. And Justina, you are also a part of the DGC. So do you also direct or?
I don't, but I know that the production coordinator designation, I don't think it exists in like Ontario or like Vancouver, but in Manitoba, production coordinators are part of the DGC. And so I've worked on several, oh my gosh, it's like 12 or 13 at this point,
Wow.
DGC productions as a production coordinator.
Justina,
Okay. Just like, I got all these DGC credits. Yeah. Like, you only got 3.
Justina, I'd love to hear about the producing side of things. Can you walk us through just even what is the roles and responsibilities of a producer, and what would you say are the biggest challenges of being a producer?
Well, one of the things I like to compare it to, like when people just ask me like, so like, what does a producer even do? You know, everyone thinks of film sets and they see the director, they see the camera. No one cares what the producer actually does. But one of the things I like to compare it to is a restaurant that you have your director who's your head chef, who's making the food, and then you have your line cooks, you know, your crew, your camera crew, everyone who's working together to make this product, to make this thing, to make your restaurant good. But your producer is the person who's running the restaurant, who is making sure people are paid and food is, you know, inventory is stocked and you know, making sure everything runs smoothly. So that's what I do. I'm working on the paperwork to make sure that we have money to even start the project and make sure contracts are negotiated, hiring our key creatives and our heads of department. And then from there, it all kind of trickles down to them securing their crew. So we're all working together to create this thing. And I'll say my favorite thing about being a producer, you're working through prep to get this project off the ground, but then that first day of filming, I love coming to set. Maybe I stop by craft services, grab breakfast burrito and grab my coffee. I'll just sit down and I just enjoy and watch everybody's hard work and just enjoy what we have created here today.
That's so nice. Yes, because I mean, for you at that point, most of the hard stuff's already done.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it's just making sure that the train stays on the track, making sure, you know, things are paid, rentals are taken care of, all those things. But then, yeah, like as soon as prep is done, it's like, all right, we're off to the races.
So how many questions do you field during a production? Like, I can imagine you'd be the go-to person for everything. It's like, Justina.
Oh, yeah. No, I've had people like, well, sometimes you don't even think of problems until they're actually happening in front of your face. Like, we were working on this one location. You know, it was very low budget. So I figured, you know, we're using the resources that we have. So we were filming in the director's house. Plus we were filming in the house next door because he was good friends with his neighbors. So I figured, okay, that means there's probably about 3 bathrooms. So we should be fine. The director's wife was adamant. No one's using the upstairs bathroom. Off limits. Okay, fair. I don't want to piss people off. So, and also,
Pun intended.
we weren't actively in the neighbor's house. We couldn't go in there. So we had one bath.
My God.
So in working with our locations, we got porta potties just put on the front lawn, off to the side, extra expense, what at? Doesn't matter. As long as everyone's happy, everyone's fed, and they can use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing.
Amazing.
But yes, things like that. You don't know what's going to go wrong until it's happening in front of your face.
Yeah.
Right. What is the process like, or your process? How does it all start as a producer and as a director? Like, do you start with like a project that you really love, or is it like how does that fall into place for you? Where does it begin?
Well, it just starts with a conversation. And just, I think, feeling it out and just talking to people and be like, I think this might be a good idea. This might be a good project. Let's do this. La, 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 la. And then it's just a matter of like, I find it doesn't really become official until you start filling out paperwork, and then it starts feeling real. Whereas like before that, it still feels kind of loosey-goosey, still flexible. No stress just yet until you start like, applying for money and actually doing all the stuff you're supposed to do if you want someone else's money. But yeah, it always just starts with a conversation and then another conversation and then another conversation. And it just, as long as you keep it going.
Between me and JJ, like really it just starts with a conversation. If we just meet up for coffee and then we're like, you know what? We've been looking at this script for a while. Like maybe we actually want to move forward with this and like see where it goes. And so then from there we have more conversations either with a co-producer or other actors or creatives to see how far maybe we want to move this project forward.
Amazing.
Like you were at, what's the conference you were at? CM.
I was at Primetime.
Thank you. My sister Justina actually has a story idea, and she's like, "Can you help me like do up a 1-pager or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." Blah, blah, blah. And that's something that she was potentially talking to a few people about at Primetime. And again, that's one of those things where like, yeah, it's conversations and feeling out other vibes. Will this producer vibe with this story, or maybe that one's probably a better fit. Like, and your values also have to line up and all that stuff. So it's not official yet. We don't like to, or at least I don't like to tell people yet that we're working on some stuff. Just because, like I said, until you start applying for other people's money, it's still loosey-goosey.
Do you do that yourselves, or do you have like grant writers? Do you have do you have go-to people, or are you two well versed in that?
I would say we do most of these things by ourselves. Again, we're introverts, right?
Yeah, I think we probably benefit from actually asking for more help sometimes, but I always find, tell you what, let's do the bulk of it first. Let's make sure it's really good to go. We'll do that ourselves, and then we'll get another pair of eyes to look at it, and then kind of go from there. We have lots of wonderful mentors and lots of other women filmmakers here in Winnipeg that we look up to, and I find we always tend to like go that direction and be like, "What do you think of this? Look,
It's nice. It's nice to
I got a
have
gold
that.
star on this, and what do you think? Should I?"
I know that you also teach. What advice do you give to emerging filmmakers, or what advice do you have in general for anyone who wants to try and make their own stuff?
Just do it. Like I always, as I was saying earlier, me and my sister were doing it before we even knew we were doing it. We were making videos for fun. We were doing it for ourselves. It brought us joy. And it wasn't until later that we realized that we could do it as a job.
Well, one of the things I say to students too, like I've also been teaching a production management course with the New Voices program at NSI. And one of the things I tell them is like, so you've got an iPhone and some buddies, go make something, like you don't let the fact that you don't have what you consider to be like good resources, like don't let that hold you back, because then at least you're actively doing something and actually creating and getting your own experience and creating and putting out content and making videos and short films. And then from there, then you can start building upon, your work, actually like applying for programs or getting funding, and then it just builds from there. So like, yeah, it really just starts with just do it. Really, you're only holding yourself back.
That. And so a big part of our podcast is talking to aspiring women, but also talking about all the stuff that kind of comes along with being a woman a lot of the times. Sometimes, we've touched on family life, while we're making documentaries and talking about our families, but then it's also about caring for our families. Justina, I know that you have a daughter.
Yes.
Yes. And how do you think that has affected things, or has it affected?
So actually, when we were traveling for Headdress and like we went to Toronto and premiered at Hot Docs, I was actually pregnant at the time. And I remember, while we were also attending the festival, we were watching some other films, and I remember we were sitting watching a film that had to do with food and like ramen and stuff. I remember like actively feeling sick. I can't be looking at food right now. It was awful. Anyway, it was still a good film. Yeah. Anyway, I honestly thought that I could keep working or like at least creating even like while pregnant, and then also after my baby was born. I remember looking at possibly going to this film program that would start like 2 months after she was born. But also my health was kind of suffering for it at the time, like a lot of like some postpartum complications. Nothing too serious, but still, it's kind of like it was a bit of a wake up call of like, okay, I need to like step back, focus on family right now and myself, and take care of myself. So that was kind of like the first real, like, moment for me of realizing like, here I am getting older, having a family, and still trying to be a woman in this professional world, and then as she got older and, I went back to work, and then also, when she was really little too, I had changed jobs. I was working full time at a production company, and then, I parted ways with them quite quickly. And I started going more into, like feature films and, TV shows like DGC productions and things. And also with that, working those 14-hour days, like those long, long days and long hours. Luckily, at the time, like my partner, very, very supportive. Plus our schedules kind of worked out that, because he was working mostly on the weekends and like evenings, weekends. So it kind of worked out. So at least in terms of childcare, because I know that it's also a concern for a lot of families and for women. I was very lucky in that regard. But even as she got older, all these milestones are happening. She's going to school. She goes to kindergarten. Now she's in grade 2. I feel like it's honestly gone by so fast, since like in the blink of an eye. Suddenly she's 7 now. Where does the time go? Like honestly, I feel like, well, it's not like something where like I missed her first steps or anything like that. Nothing like that. But I definitely feel like there are times where I've missed things, just because I've been trying so hard to establish myself in the industry and work those long hours and to be available on set and in the office, that I do feel like part of my home life was a little bit neglected. But she's a great kid, though.
She's a great kid. Yeah.
Lovely. She's so energetic and lovely.
And she has a great role models, right? So these are things that affect. I mean, you're not going to know the effects until way later, but I am almost positive that they will be showing her, what a woman can do in a positive light. And I think, you try to think about that. I think that's what we all know. We're just like, okay,
We've all experienced this.
this is going to end well.
And I just want to add, because her, mommy was working so much. When Auntie wasn't working, I got baby. So like, I feel like because of this dynamic, I saw Charlotte. Her name is Charlotte. I saw her all the time. So I always feel like me and my husband are almost like, if it's not too much to say, are almost like second parents for her, just because we got to be with her so much. So in a way, I'm kind of grateful for how busy my sister got, because then that meant I got to be with her.
Aww. Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, like, I know I'm just an auntie, but I feel that too. It's like, she's doing that thing. She's a great too. It's like, why can't they date some more?
It's another testament of how you two are supporting each other. You're supporting each other as sisters. You're supporting each other in your careers. And it's really beautiful to see. I'm so excited to see everything that's coming up for you both. We're nearing our hour here, so we'll wrap it up. We have a question that we ask every guest on the show. And the question is, given all the roles you take on, so, mother, partner, director, coach, mentor, auntie, the list goes on, I'm sure. When you hear hitting her mark, what does that mean to you? How do you define success in your life? And that can be personally or professionally.
Goals. She has a goal, and she's striving, and she's making those goals. Like, she's hitting those goals. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I had an ambition, I had wants, and I'm doing it. And that's what I'm just so happy about. That's what I think of.
It's a great answer. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Highlight. Like, it probably shouldn't be such a big question, but it actually feels like a very big question for me, because sometimes I know what I want and where I'm going, and then there's other days going, what am I doing? Is this where I want to be? Is this where I ought to be? Like, it just becomes a lot of self-questioning, and I'm like, yeah, what are my goals? What would make me happy? Is this making me happy? Like, it's constant in my head. I learned that I have ADD, I have depression, and I have anxiety. So I'm in therapy, and that's great. I'm on medication now, which really helps. So it's like, to me, hitting her mark, just more clarity, figuring out where you want to go. And it's okay to change your mind or to stumble along the way. The point is just to keep going. Because some days you don't want to keep going, but you got to keep going.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? Sorry, that got really existential.
No, I love that. That was so real. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable. Thank you, ladies. Oh my God, this was wonderful. And I appreciate you both so much. Thank you for coming on to the show with us.
Yes, and spending this whole hour with us talking and explaining to us, because really, what a producer does, it's everything, basically.
And yet, like, in the back, right?
Yeah, it's like,
But I was introverted, it's fine.
I just want to say thank you guys for reaching out, because I always I think I mentioned before, there's that imposter syndrome, and it just always feels like you feel like no one's actually seeing the work that you do sometimes. And then when people reach out, like, hey, can we talk to you about film and la la la? It's like, oh,
It's nice to be seen.
yeah, it's like they saw us.
Well, you two are doing very important work, and you're being amazing role models. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was a really great conversation. I think it's super cool that we got to talk to a director and a producer, Dynamite sister duo. Weren't they so sweet? They also like have such an amazing relationship with each other. And I love, they balance each other out and they help each other out.
The roles were actually like reversed when they first started, because Justina was the director when they first started and JJ was the producer, and now they've completely flipped the script.
Yes. And I love that there's shorthand, right? When you're working with like Emily, you don't have to mince words. We can get straight to the heart of things. And then at the same time, they're each other's cheerleaders. They can cheer each other on in projects and be like, yeah, I'm doing okay. Or fill in the blanks.
Yes.
I also thought it was super cool to learn the job of a producer, the through line there. I didn't really fully know all of the roles and responsibilities. And so that was really cool to learn that from
I love how
Justina.
she put it in like a different perspective with like how you run a restaurant.
Yes. And then JJ also talking about, showing up on set and having those feelings that an actor feels too on that first day of filming. They're nervous too,
Yes.
And then once you get through that first few shots, you can kind of relax into it and off to the races. And reminding us that you know how to do the job,
Yes.
And you can second guess yourself, you can question yourself, but you do know how to do the job.
Yeah, when you really break it down and imagine, like how she said, she's like, imagine if you were talking to someone who knew nothing about it. You would be like, oh yeah, this is what you do, A, B, and C. It's only sort of when you take yourself out of that and you're putting yourself in a situation where you think you're working with people that are more professional or have more skill, or like now all of a sudden you're the new person, that you feel that way. But really, we all know what we're doing.
Yeah. And we're all people. We're just people. Like when she was saying she talks to an actor, I'm going to talk to them like a person. It actually gave me something to walk away with when maybe next time out on set, and even talking with a director, not to see it as like a hierarchy. Obviously that you're professional and you respect everyone's role, but they're just a person too. If you have a question, it's okay. You can have a dialogue. There is a collaboration there.
Yeah. And another thing I really loved was their partnership is also away from work. And, when Justina had her baby and she was working hard and she had to do, she knew she could step away and do that because she knew that JJ was there taking care of her baby and her parents were there and she had family there. Having that security and having that trust just gives a mother so much freedom.
I'm noticing that this is a common theme in some of our guests who have children, that the supportive spouse or family member, it's so important to have. A lot of folks are able to do it because they have that support. And I hope that the industry in general also supports artists with children, because it is hard, and maybe finding ways to make it more feasible. Such long hours sometimes too. I just hope that it becomes more of a conversation moving forward.
Yeah. And really, so I was on set the other day and they had 3 dogs. Like 3 people were allowed to bring their dogs on set. And I get it, right? Like they're dogs. They don't want to be left alone all day. And, especially when you're a crew. I mean, yes, actors, we spend long hours on there too, but definitely the crew.
Yeah, crew.
Right? There's no route. Like you're there sun up till sundown for sure. But I was just like, but what about kids?
I think that does happen. But it's harder, right? Especially if they're small, then you need another set of hands on deck because you're working, right? But I think this is definitely, even as we're interviewing people, we can keep having that conversation, and maybe there's things that can be done. I think I saw Jennifer Lawrence doing an interview once too, talking about that. She was working on set and it was a female director and she had to get back for her kid for some reason or other. And she said the women put their heads together and they made a schedule and they figured it out. And sometimes that's what needs to be done. You need to have a conversation and people need to be accommodated,
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note,
That's how you get things done. You talk about it,
and
you make a schedule.
we have a dialogue. We come up with a solution. We support each other.
And I think that's what it is. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of men who, inevitably are running the industry or have a lot of say in it, and they don't know. So if we're hiding it or we're not bringing it to light, then we can't expect any change.
Yeah, especially if it's fear sometimes, right? Fear of losing a job, fear of being seen as too demanding, or a diva or something like that. And we gotta get rid of that stigma. We need support.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.